and boom goes the dynamite.
Let's get ready to rumble. This is Daily Dive, the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show. I am your host, Michael Karvelis. We have I'd say gigantic is the good word, show today. On the show today, our top story will be NLL East playoff race. I'll use NLLstats.com by Graham Perot to look at the playoff race and tell you guys of Rochester, Georgia, Philadelphia, and Halifax who's got the best goalie, who's got the best player, and also who makes the playoffs. There's a pretty big deal coming up these next 2 weeks. Our big guest by Fanatics is, drum roll please, Panther City rookie sensation Jonathan Donville is on the show in the second segment. You do not want to miss that. I promise you. Remember, I've been campaigning for Brett Dobson as Rookie of the Year. Jonathan Donville is the closest ammo against me. I promise you. And our last brew by B-Res Coffee Company, code Daily Dive, is Saskatchewan Rush, how they are moving forward these next 2 weeks as Alex Bouquet officially hits the injured reserve list. So let's get into our top story presented by Daily Dive Store. To get all the awesome merchandise with this logo on it, go to Daily Dive Lax on our social media pages and click the link tree. When you do so, you click the Our Store tab, and the awesome merchandise with this logo is on it. It's the best way to support the show as we try to grow the game. Top story, NLL East playoff race. Now, if you go on NLLstats.com, this is made by Graham Perot, does an excellent job over there. It's a very simple website to use. It's very informative. I've gotten hella stats from that website. And I wanted to go into this little thing on here called Could Happen. If you're on NLLstats.com, you go to Could Happen, you can check out scenarios and actually make your picks, okay? So this weekend, in week 21 of NLL, you've got New York playing Halifax, Georgia playing Rochester in Rochester, Philadelphia playing Albany. Then week 22, you've got Halifax at Georgia and Philadelphia at Rochester for all the marbles, if you will. But in week 21, it could determine quite a few things. So let's do this here scenario. First off, let me do this first. Let's tell you who I think has the best goalie of these four teams. And remember, the Rochester Nighthawks currently, as it sits through 16 games, have a 9-7 record. They have a 1 or half game advantage on Georgia and Halifax and have a 2 game to 1.5 game advantage on the Philadelphia Wings. So Rochester is in the driver's seat here. In fact, if they beat Georgia this weekend, if Rochester wins against Georgia, let's say Halifax wins, and let's say Philadelphia wins, and let's say Philadelphia beats Rochester and Halifax or Georgia wins, Rochester makes the playoffs regardless. So this weekend, Rochester wins and they're in the playoffs based on the math. If they lose to Georgia, it's a little bit different. But Rochester, not only are they playing with, what is it called, house money or whatever, Rochester also has Rylan Hartley. And I can argue all day about how Brett Dobson has been Rookie of the Year. I can argue all day about how Warren Hill has hot streaks for Halifax and how Angus Goodleaf or Zach Higgins, pick your poison, in Philadelphia. Rylan Hartley has been, when he's been on it, the best goalie in the NLL. No one can make saves like the athletic Rylan Hartley. In fact, there's quite an ongoing joke where every time Rylan Hartley makes a save, all the men grab their groin because it hurts. It was no way he just make that save like that. I call it the split saves. So Rylan Hartley, to me, is the best goalie. Now, if you had to break down the other three teams, because as I said, Rochester kind of has an advantage here, having already started the season 6-0, having won the 7th game, and now, of course, kind of reeling, traveling the last 4 weeks. But that being said, if you take Ryan Hartley out of the equation and go to either Zach Higgins or Warren Hill or Brett Dobson, I'm taking the rookie Brett Dobson. Now, as far as best players go, I told you guys my opinions on this. While Lyle Thompson is really good, while Philadelphia has Mitch Jones, who's having an MVP-like season, to me, Connor Fields, when he's on it, is the best player in the NLL, and of course, of these 4 teams. But let's take Connor Fields out of this. Of the 3 teams, Philadelphia, Halifax, and Georgia, it really comes down to Mitch Jones or Lyle Thompson. Now, I could argue Mitch Jones is playing well because of all the good players in Philadelphia. Now, Mitch Jones, of course, has exceeded expectations. There's no doubt about it. But I believe, push came to shove, I still take Lyle Thompson. So I think Georgia has the best goalie, and they have the best player outside of Rochester. Although I think Rochester with Ryan Hartley and Connor Fields has both of those. But my prediction, and I told you guys, I teased this a little bit. I believe in the New York and Halifax game, New York could be playing upset here, but I'm going to say Halifax gets the win. Georgia and Rochester, I'm going to say Rochester gets the win, and I'm going to say Philly beats a very pesky Albany team because it's right there. It's not that far of a flight. So, if we leave that alone, going into week 22, you've got Rochester and Halifax as the number 3 and 4 seeds. Week 22, I've got, if it goes the way I think it will, I've got Georgia to win a must-win over Halifax to put them in, at least I think, and then Philadelphia against Rochester, I would say it would go to, well, at that point, it wouldn't matter. Rochester wouldn't gain anything, so even if Philadelphia wins, they wouldn't get in. So really, Georgia is in the driver's seat, even if they lose to Rochester. This is interesting, but I do believe your 2 final playoff teams in the Eastern Conference are going to be, I think it's going to be Rochester and Georgia, which means I don't think anything changes. I believe that's the case right now. So I'm going to clear all these games away on NLStats.com, and right now it is Rochester, Georgia, and I'm going to say I don't think it changes. And you know what else has not changed? The West already has its playoff teams. And one of those teams has a chance to move up this weekend, and a big reason why is the awesome rookie in Jonathan Donville. We're talking to Panther City rookie Jonathan Donville after this break. Don't go anywhere. This is Daily Dive. It's time for our big guest presented by Fanatics. I am humbly joined by Panther City rookie Jonathan Donville. John, it is nice to meet you, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I just want to let you know, we've had guys like Nick Rose, Callum Crawford on the show, and I think you might be one of my favorites. I've had a chance to hype this up. Even as a rookie, you're doing awesome things over there. But to hype you up a little bit more, you are 25 years old, out of Oakville, Ontario, I believe, co-host of the Back of the Bird podcast, and this season, you've got 21 goals, 63 dimes, and 57 loose balls. Pretty good rookie year so far, right?
Yeah, I had some ups and downs for sure. Certainly proud of myself, but definitely, think I'm capable of more and always need to get better.
Hey, I love hearing that. So let's talk about you're one of the favorites for Rookie of the Year, and I wanted to ask you this: what or who do you give credit to, whether it be in your personal life, personally, or even with Panther City, or even at Maryland or in Cornell? Who or what do you give credit to for this early success and moving forward?
Yeah, first one's obviously my family. My dad coached me when I was a little kid. My brother was ahead of me in lacrosse, played at Cornell before I did, played for Team Canada. So those were definitely the starts. And then I've played for quite a few teams, throughout my career at this point. And think of guys like Jay Lanchbury, who coached me when I was a kid, and definitely, I think my time at Cornell was probably the most transformative time in terms of my career and just building habits and stuff like that. And the coaches there, and also the guys I got to learn with, and Mimico, Orangeville, Maryland, they all were kind of huge steps for me. And he took something different from each step of the way, and I think that's all helped me.
I love hearing that. Cornell, you say really helped you out with that. And I gotta imagine playing with a guy in Matthew Goche, who's also a rookie, has gotta help you out a little bit more, I'd say, on the team, right?
Yeah, it's been great. He's easy guy to play with, easy guy to get along with, great teammate, good player, and in general, we've got a lot of young guys on our offense. Cameron Greniak's also a rookie. Dodgy, obviously, he's a second year. Will's a young guy. Nathan's a second year guy. So a lot of young guys. It's kind of been cool to break into the league with guys who are close to my age, but having Caputo and Callum there to kind of be a more veteran presence has been awesome too.
Yeah, I can only imagine like you said, Caputo and Crawford there, especially with Crawford's like all-time stats. Has got to like take a step back from that. I'm sure you kind of look at it like, wow, I'm literally playing with this guy. Um, you guys, and I know it's your first season, but Panther City, to be fair, is almost like a rookie as well. It's their second season playing out of Fort Worth, Texas, and you guys clinched the playoff spot in a really tough game against Vancouver. What do you think, and you're even being a rookie, makes Panther City different as a contender this season?
Yeah, I think we're hungry, and I think everybody's hungry. I think this is a hard league to win in, and we're not satisfied, nor I don't think is anybody else in this league. Everyone is going for the championship. So I think we work hard. I think we get out and run pretty well, and I think we got a lot of guys who can get hot on the right night, and we're just happy to have a chance to compete in the playoffs, and more than anything, happy to be able to spend another weekend together and get to be a team one more time. You're only a team for 1 year. You never know what's going to happen year over year. So just to get to come back for at least one more weekend and give ourselves a chance to keep spending time together, I think that's all we can ask for.
And I appreciate that side of lacrosse more than any sport. It's just this isn't a full-time job, unfortunately, sometimes. And it's nice knowing the bond that you guys have to create to be even better, as you mentioned, of course, hanging out on the weekends, etc. But you mentioned there is one more game. It's versus Calgary. Now, 2 weeks ago, you guys went to Calgary, and that's, I'm sure, not a fun place to play, especially traveling from the Fort Worth area, although you do live in Canada. But how can you guys finish the regular season with a bang and avenge that loss in a way against Calgary this weekend?
Yeah, I think I don't think we want to get too wrapped up in results. I think we just want to give a better effort. I don't think anyone in our group was satisfied with the effort we gave against Calgary 2 weeks ago, and they're an awesome team, and they took it to us, and they're still an awesome team. So we got to put out a better effort, and I think regardless of what happens in terms of result, if we can put about a better effort and compete a little bit harder, and specifically compete a little smarter. Um, we'll be proud of that. And obviously, you got to that starts up front, starting to create more chances. I think that's the focus. Obviously, a challenge against a great defense and an outstanding goalie, but it's the league and the business we're in.
Absolutely. I do have a couple more questions here. First one is NLL related. The next one I'll plug you up a little bit. First one is you guys are I lost my train of thought here, but I'll ask you the podcast one first. The Back of the Bird podcast is with Dan Lomas and Paul Dawson. Tell me a little bit about that. How fun that's been during this season.
Yeah, it's been great. We've done 80 episodes now. I wasn't there for all 80, but I've been on for about 65 of them now. So my job is mostly behind the scenes. I edit the podcast. I do all the editing. I post it, the behind the scenes work, and then I also get to be on the show and be kind of a co-host there. So it's just been a great opportunity. And I've been a Lax Rat since I was a little kid, watching a lot of games and kind of idolizing these players. So getting to meet some of the great players to play our game has been probably the coolest part.
I'm sure. So shout out the Back of the Bird. I did notice in your profile on Instagram, it did say producer Donville, I believe. That was pretty cool to read. Here's a question I was going to say about the NLL again. You, of course, like I said, are in the Rookie of the Year race. I've campaigned on this show for a guy like Brett Dobson, obviously goalie versus forward. It's different dynamic there. How important would it be to you to win it? And of course, you would accept the award, obviously, for winning Rookie of the Year in any league. But how important is that to you this season?
Yeah, it's not really a huge focus. I think just trying to help my team win is the biggest thing. And I think the funny thing about Rookie of the Year is guys who are close to your age. So I know a lot of the other guys, and they're all awesome dudes, awesome players. And I think whoever wins it is going to be an awesome candidate. So I'm not too focused on it, especially with playoffs coming up. And if it goes my way, it goes, and if not, we'll keep moving on. But yeah, I'm just trying to help us win this weekend and then extend our time together.
Absolutely. I appreciate your drive and your passion. I can tell you are a focused individual. Shout out to Back of the Bird. Okay, making sure I get that right. Back of the Bird podcast in the future. Hopefully it works well with you with Panther City. Good luck against Calgary. And Jonathan Donville, it has been my pleasure. Thank you so much for joining Daily Dive today.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Jonathan Donville, I keep telling people I'm 26, and guys like him are 25. I do a podcast talking about athletes, and they are the athletes. It's quite a humbling experience. But Jonathan Donville, love the focus on him and, of course, other players on that team. And check out Back of the Bird podcast. Like I said, that's awesome. Again, we've had awesome guys on this show, and it's very awesome to see a rookie in a year that this is really my first year doing this. So shout out to Jonathan Donville, shout out to Panther City, and Fort Worth fans, get to that game this weekend. Your team's in the playoffs. Let's pack that Panther City house out. When I come back, I'm talking about Alex Bouquet's injury and what it means for Saskatchewan Rush. Remember, we talked to Cody Jansen yesterday. We'll be right back to Daily Dive to wrap it up. Last Brew presented by B-Riz Coffee Company. Code Daily Dive at checkout. Check out B-Riz Coffee Company. That's B-R-E-Z Coffee Company. And when you do, use code Daily Dive at checkout to shop the awesome flavors and support our show in the process. Remember, they just celebrated a 2-year anniversary / birthday, and it's big things. Coffee for gamers, by gamers, and of course, Daily Dive and lacrosse fans. Our last brew is moving forward for the Saskatchewan Rush. This topic comes up because Alex Bouquet has officially, as of yesterday or this morning, been put on the injured reserve list. So Alex Bouquet will most likely, I would say, miss this game and missed the next game. Of course, the Saskatchewan Rush in week 21 this week will host Colorado, a very feisty Colorado team, and then go to San Diego. Alex Bouquet this season was almost played savior for this team. Remember last year, the talk for the Rush was the goaltending wasn't there. They lost too many close games. Well, this year, basically the same thing. Although Alex Bouquet had a nice run, he had a 76.7 save percentage in the end and played 795 minutes. And so 795 minutes later, we could go with 29-year-old Eric Penny or rookie Lane Rushka. And I'm going to listen from Warman, Saskatoon. I'm assuming they're going to go with Rushka. In fact, Rushka was put on the active roster, of course, to be the backup goalie, I would assume. But that's just to get you wondering. Everyone probably knows that Rushka is going to be the goalie moving forward here. So we talked to Cody Jansen yesterday on the show, the play-by-play broadcaster for the team. And obviously, you have guys like Reese Dutch on the Rush, who is going to be an unrestricted free agent after this season. Did what he could, but it wasn't good enough. But you have guys like Robert Church, Mark Matthews, Dan Littner, the whole crew. How about Austin Madronic, who's got 22 points? Jake Boudreau, who's got 11 points and 82 loosies. Ryan Barnable, who's got 31 loosies, 7 caused turnovers, and 10 points of his own. You also look at Wyatt Hoax, and of course, Isaac. God, I wish I knew how to say that name. The point is, the Rush have a boatload of guys who are young and can make this thing work. In fact, I don't want to say they're going to win, but even if they did beat Colorado this weekend, Colorado right now is the 4th seed, and I believe, because Colorado and Panther City are playing for the 3rd and the 4th seed. Colorado needs to win this game this weekend in order to get a 3rd spot and have more home field advantage. But for the 4th spot, Panther City's right there knocking on the door. We told Jonathan Donville those guys are focused. So the Rush are obviously going to have a tough time this weekend. Although in Saskatoon, I told you guys travel to me is a big thing. And the fact that guys are still with the Rush in the hometown is a big deal. This week, though, the Rush are 1.5 point underdogs, and wouldn't you know it? Remember, all season long, I feel like I've seen, because of the way the betting market is for the NLL, and because of the way the parity is so good, I don't remember seeing a home dog in quite some time. But that's what the Rush are here in week 21 coming up. So I'm interested to see how Jake Boudreau does. I also believe the Rush made a mistake letting go of Marshall Palace. In fact, Marshall Palace plays for the Albany Firewolves right now. Remember, we interviewed him earlier this season, and Marshall Palace has got 23 points in just 5 games. Listen, I've been seeing his praises. The man is awesome, but Jake Boudreau, though, I fell in love with after the Seals game. I think the last Seals game, when he trash talked, like when he made the garbage time goal, and Dane Dobie, being the monster that he is, tried to antagonize and get under the skin of Boudreau, and Boudreau was like, "Oh, this guy's talking to me? Like what? I'm unfazed." Okay, it takes that kind of awesome, stoic face to succeed. You don't want guys like Dane Dobie to get under the skin of a guy like Jake Boudreau. See Jonathan Donville, how serious he was, although it takes that to be awesome. I've always said the best athletes are the ones who are not having fun. I mean, yeah, they're having fun when they're playing, but they're not, you don't see it on their faces. They're locked in. They're ready to go. That's what the best players do. That's why I like Jake Boudreau and company over with the Saskatchewan Rush. I do believe, and I've campaigned this before they even traded for Reese Dutch. I told you guys on this year's show, I did believe they should get rid of Mark Matthews, Robert Trish, one of those guys. Get the new life going. Now, granted, it could be nice to see if they could just plug and play these young guys, and then the older guys can kind of lead the way for another championship run. I don't see that happening. I'm not saying egos would get in the way, because I know lacrosse guys are all a family. But don't tell me that it would not be better for the young guys to just have more keys. Look at Marshall Palace, how open his game has become now that he's away from all that, okay? I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm saying that's just the natural way of how teams in sports work, okay? When you have mouths to feed and the young guys who might low-key be better moving forward don't have enough to feed and they move on, they're exploding elsewhere. Look at Shea Gilgeous-Alexander for the Oklahoma City Thunder. When he was traded away, Tyrese Halliburton of the Pacers right now. Listen, those guys are thriving. Same with Marshall Palace. I want to see the Rush fully unlock these young guys for the last 2 games. And then, like Cody Jensen said yesterday, you can draft a righty forward, draft a good lefty forward. There's a lot of good guys in college lacrosse this year. I haven't even touched the basis of college lacrosse this year. Okay? Touch the surface, I mean. So there's some prospects out there. Just saying. I also want to give a shout out to this. NLL features age is just a number. This was pretty cool to watch. It's like a short, I think it's like less than 10 minutes long on the NLL.com website, of course, which takes you to their YouTube page. But it was a pretty good feature. I love seeing that Dan Dawson is in your stinking 22. The guy's played for 21 seasons. This is his 22nd season wrapping up, and he still has to eat and diet and exercise like a professional player. Again, these guys work Monday through Friday jobs. A lot of them do. I know The Rock might be a little bit differently because they've got some like hometown guys and like they actually get paid, I'm sure, more. But the point is, it's huge seeing a guy like in year 22 being as awesome as Dan Dawson is at 41 years old and still having the drive to compete. And plus, he had a good game this past weekend against Philadelphia as well. So that was cool. But check out that when you get a chance. It was great having awesome guests on the show. Jonathan Donville, humbling experience for me, for sure. And shout out to him and, of course, all the great rookies of this year. NLL is loaded. Just when you think, well, what's going to happen after these awesome guys retire? Well, we got more awesomeness coming into the fold. So shout out to guests like Jonathan Donville. Shout out to Cody Jensen yesterday. We had Cooper Perkins on Tuesday. Ryan Ballantyne, PK of Buffalo Sports Collective. The whole crew. We got so many people that come on the show. And there's more to come, including, drum roll please, tomorrow, Teddy Jenner. Listen, I cannot say how cool it is to know that a guy went from playing to being a play-by-play broadcaster. Usually the guy goes from playing to being an analyst. Teddy Jenner has become the voice of the NLL, in my opinion. At least one of them. And that's pretty cool for a former player. Cannot wait to pick Teddy Jenner's brain tomorrow. That's our other big guest I teased yesterday. So for everybody that contributes to the show, like guests and the ones behind the scenes, thanks so much for tuning in. I am Al Karvelis. We'll see you tomorrow for picks and guest Teddy Jenner. This has been Daily Dive. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.